In the heart of Alaska's most unforgiving winter, where the cold does not merely chill but consumes, and where silence itself feels heavy enough to crush the spirit, an elderly woman had less than an hour to live. Alone, injured, forgotten by the world. What happened next would challenge everything we believe about the laws of nature. The woman moved slowly through this frozen wilderness, her fragile body wrapped in layers that did little to keep the cold at bay. Time had already taken its toll on her bones, bending her slightly, slowing her steps, but not breaking her will. She had come here out of necessity, not choice. Firewood was life in a place like this, and life did not wait for comfort. Each step she took sank deep into the snow. Then it happened. Her foot slipped. It was such a small thing, so sudden, so simple, that there was no time to react. The ground beneath her gave way, and in an instant she was falling. The world spun into a blur of white and gray as her body tumbled down a hidden slope, striking rock and ice before finally coming to a stop at the bottom. For a long moment, there was nothing. No movement. No sound, just the faint whisper of wind brushing against snow. Then, slowly, painfully, she tried to breathe. A sharp pain shot through her side. Her leg refused to move. Her hands clawed weakly at the snow as she struggled to lift herself, but her body betrayed her. The strength she had relied on for so many years was no longer there. She was trapped. Out here, alone and injured, there would be no rescue, no second chance, only time running out. Her breathing slowed, and then, from somewhere beyond the veil of trees, came a sound. At first, she thought it was the wind playing tricks on her fading senses, but then it came again, closer this time, measured, deliberate. Something was approaching. Through half-closed eyes, she turned her head, straining to see. The forest, moments ago empty, now held a presence, something alive, something watching. And then she saw it. A massive grizzly bear emerged from between the trees. The bear stopped a few feet away, its deep eyes fixed on her fragile form. It inhaled slowly, taking in her scent. She closed her eyes, waiting. But the attack never came. Seconds passed, then more. The wind howled through the trees, but the bear did not move. Slowly, hesitantly, she opened her eyes again. It was still there, watching, not with hunger, but with something else, something she could not understand. The bear took a step closer, then another. Her breath caught in her throat as it lowered its massive head, bringing itself closer to her level. Its presence was overwhelming, its size almost impossible to comprehend from where she lay. And yet, it did not strike. Instead, it did something no one could have imagined. It moved beside her, carefully, deliberately, lowering its body into the snow, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from its thick fur. Warmth, real warmth. At first, she thought it was a dream, a final illusion before the end. But then she felt it again, stronger this time. The unbearable cold that had wrapped itself around her began slowly to retreat. The bear stayed still, its body shielding her from the wind, its warmth seeping into her frozen limbs. It did not rush, it did not panic, it simply remained, as if it understood. Time passed in fragments. The woman's breathing steadied, her mind clearing just enough to grasp the impossibility of what was happening. With trembling effort, she shifted slightly, her shoulder brushing against the bear's fur. It did not react, did not move. It allowed it. Eventually, the bear rose. The sudden loss of warmth made her gasp softly, but before fear could take hold, it nudged her gently with its head, once, then again, a little firmer. A signal, a command, move. Pain shot through her body as she tried, but she understood. Somehow she understood. Using what little strength she had left, she pushed herself up, her injured leg screaming in protest.
She nearly collapsed, but the bear was there. It stepped closer, steadying her without force, its massive presence acting as both support and guide. Slowly, painfully, she leaned against it, her frail frame dwarfed by its strength. And then they began to move through the forest, step by step. The bear did not rush. It adjusted its pace to hers, stopping whenever she faltered, waiting whenever she needed. The storm picked up around them, wind tearing through branches, snow swirling violently in the air. But they kept going, a human and a predator bound together in a silent understanding that defied every rule of the wild. Minutes felt like hours. Every step was a battle. But then, through the chaos, something changed. A shape, familiar. Her cabin, barely visible through the storm, but there. Relief surged through her, fragile but real. With the last of her strength, she moved forward, each step bringing her closer to safety, to life. And when she reached the door, when her trembling hands finally touched the rough wood of her home, she turned back. The bear stood a short distance away, watching, silent. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. There were no words, no understanding, only a quiet acknowledgement of something deeper than either of them could explain. Then, without a sound, the bear turned and disappeared into the forest, gone, as if it had never been there at all. Inside the cabin, the woman collapsed near the fire, her body shaking as warmth slowly returned. She should have died out there. By every law of nature, she should not have survived. And yet, she had. Not because the wilderness was kind, but because for one impossible moment, something within it chose to be. Days later, when she was strong enough to stand, she noticed something outside her door. Fresh tracks in the snow, and beside them, food, left quietly, without witness, without reward.